Ethan Cole never planned to return to Willow Creek. Life had taken him far from the quiet town where every road carried a memory and every face once knew his name. He was 36 now, a single father raising a 7-year-old daughter after losing his wife to illness 3 years earlier. Responsibility had aged him faster than time, carving seriousness into his once carefree eyes. But when his company approved remote work for a month, and his daughter Lily begged to see the town he always spoke about before bedtime, Ethan found himself driving down familiar roads, heart pounding harder with every mile. Willow Creek hadn't changed much. The old diner still smelled like coffee and cinnamon. The oak tree near the school still stood tall, and the small white house near the lake still looked exactly the same. That was where Emily Harper lived. Emily was Ethan's first love, his truest one. They had grown up together, barefoot summers, shared secrets, innocent dreams whispered under the stars. Everyone thought they would marry. Everyone except life. At 19, Ethan left for college. Emily stayed behind to care for her sick mother. Promises were made. Letters were written. Then life slowly, quietly pulled them apart. Ethan married someone else. Emily never did. Standing in front of her house now, Ethan hesitated before knocking. He wasn't sure what he expected. Anger, distance, maybe polite coldness. The door opened. Emily stood there, frozen in surprise. She had changed, yet somehow hadn't. Her hair was shorter, her face more mature, but her eyes, those gentle, thoughtful eyes, were exactly the same. "Ethan?" she whispered. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she smiled, soft and uncertain. "You came back." They talked for hours that evening. Emily welcomed Ethan and Lily like family. She listened as Ethan spoke about his marriage, his loss, his struggles as a single father. She never judged, only listened the way she always had. Ethan noticed something strange. Emily's life was quiet, simple, no stories of heartbreak, no failed relationships, no exes. When he gently asked if she had ever married or loved someone else, she shook her head. "I waited," she said honestly. "Not for you, just for something real." Days passed, and their connection grew deeper. Lily adored Emily, clinging to her hand like she had always belonged there. Ethan felt something awaken inside him, something he thought grief had buried forever. One evening, sitting by the lake where they had once planned their future, Emily finally shared her truth. She had turned down many proposals, not out of fear, but out of faith. Faith that love should be built on trust, respect, and patience. She had never given herself to anyone because she never felt safe enough, certain enough. Ethan was stunned, not by the fact itself, but by the strength behind it. She wasn't naive. She wasn't sheltered. She was choosing herself. In the world that rushed everything, Emily had waited, not for perfection, but for meaning. Ethan didn't touch her, didn't push, didn't ask for more. Instead, he took her hand. "I don't want to take anything from you," he said quietly. "I want to build something with you, slowly, honestly." Emily's eyes filled with tears. For the first time in years, she felt seen, not as someone left behind, but as someone deeply valued. Weeks later, when Ethan's time in Willow Creek ended, he didn't leave alone. He left with a promise, not of marriage, not of certainty, but of choice. A choice to try again, a choice to heal together, a choice to love, this time without fear. Sometimes life doesn't give you your first love forever. But if you're patient, it may give them back to you when you're finally ready to deserve them. Ethan thought leaving Willow Creek would be the hardest part. He was wrong. Returning to the city with Lily brought back the weight of reality. School schedules, work deadlines, unanswered grief. But something was different now. Every night after Lily fell asleep, Ethan found himself checking his phone, rereading Emily's messages. Simple messages, warm ones, the kind that didn't demand attention, yet somehow held it completely. Emily never rushed him. She asked about Lily, she asked about his day. She asked about his heart, carefully, respectfully, as if it were something fragile in her hands. Weeks turned into months. Ethan visited Willow Creek again, then again. Each time the bond deepened, not through grand gestures, but through shared responsibility. Emily helped Lily with homework. Ethan fixed things around Emily's house. They cooked meals together, laughed quietly, and sometimes just sat in silence, comfortable and unafraid. But healing is never simple. One afternoon, Ethan received a call that shook him. His late wife's parents wanted to see Lily more often, and they weren't happy about Emily. "She's replacing our daughter," his mother-in-law said through tears and anger. "You're moving on too fast." The words cut deep. Ethan began pulling away, not from lack of love, but from guilt. Emily noticed. "You're leaving again," she said softly one evening as they stood by the lake. "I'm scared," Ethan admitted. "What if I hurt you? What if I'm not ready?" Emily didn't cry. She didn't argue. Instead, she spoke the truth she had learned from years of waiting. "Love isn't proven by staying," she said. "It's proven by honesty. If you need time, take it. I won't lose myself waiting again." That night, Ethan understood something painful. Emily had waited once, and it nearly broke her. She would never do it blindly again. Days passed without messages. For the first time since his wife's death, Ethan felt real fear, not of loss, but of missing something true because of cowardice. Then Lily said something that changed everything. "Daddy," she asked one night, "why don't you smile when Aunt Emily isn't here?" The question hit him harder than any accusation ever could. Ethan drove to Willow Creek the next morning. He didn't bring flowers. He didn't bring promises. He brought honesty. "I can't erase my past," he told Emily, standing at her door, "but I don't want to live in it anymore. I don't want you because you waited. I want you because you chose yourself and still opened your heart." Emily searched his face, looking for fear, for doubt. She saw none. Only truth. They didn't rush into anything. They chose counseling. They chose patience. They chose Lily's comfort above everything else. Months later, on a quiet autumn evening, Ethan didn't ask Emily to marry him. He asked her something far more meaningful. "Will you walk beside me without promises we can't keep? But with effort we won't abandon." Emily smiled through tears. "Yes," she whispered. Not because she had waited her whole life, but because this time she was choosing love, not longing. And sometimes that choice is the bravest one of all. When news spread that Ethan Cole was serious about Emily Harper, Willow Creek began to talk. Small towns always do. Some called Emily too old to be starting a family. Others whispered that she had waited for nothing. A few questioned Ethan's intentions, a widower with a child moving too fast, leaning on a woman who had never lived real life. Emily heard it all, and for the first time in years, the old fear returned, not of being alone, but of being misunderstood. Ethan noticed the change in her silence. "You don't have to prove anything to anyone," he told her one evening. Emily shook her head gently. "I know, but Lily deserves a life that isn't whispered about." That night, Emily made a decision. She invited the town to see the truth, not through words, but through actions. At the annual Willow Creek Fall Gathering, Emily volunteered to organize the Children's Corner. She brought homemade treats. She laughed easily. She treated Ethan's daughter not as a responsibility, but as a blessing. And Lily, bright, observant Lily, called her something unexpected. "Mom, Emily." The crowd went quiet. Emily froze. Ethan's breath caught. But Emily knelt down, looked into Lily's eyes, and said calmly, "I'm here if you want me to be, always." That moment did more than any defense ever could. People began to soften. But the final test came from the past. Ethan's late wife's sister arrived unannounced one afternoon. Grief still lived in her voice. "You're erasing my sister," she accused. "Emily, you waited your whole life for a man who already belonged to someone else." Emily listened without interrupting. Then she spoke, quietly, firmly. "I didn't wait for him. I waited for myself. I didn't step into his past. I stepped into his present, with respect for everything that came before." There was no anger in her tone, only truth. The woman left in silence. Weeks later, Ethan stood at the same lake where his life had once split into two paths. He held no ring, only a letter. He read it aloud. It was written by Lily. "Dear Emily, you don't try to be my mom. You just are. I hope you stay forever." Ethan's voice broke. "I don't want to ask you to marry me because society expects it," he said. "I want to ask you because love chose us again." This time, Emily didn't hesitate. "Yes," she said. They married quietly. No spectacle, no proving, just presence. Emily didn't become a wife who replaced a memory. She became a woman who honored it and still built something new. And Willow Creek learned something it had forgotten. Love doesn't arrive on time. It arrives when hearts are ready. Sometimes late, sometimes scarred, but always exactly when it's meant to stay. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.